Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary and I'm casting you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring Xai from the red Zerg in the top left corner, and on the bottom right we have TallyHo, which is your blue Protoss. We are on Ohana. Red versus blue means this is probably a ladder. I know Xai is in gold from the Drop StarCraft website. TallyHo wasn't placed, so this is probably a placement match for him. So we'll get to see some fun playful ladder action. That's what I'm hoping for right here. Ohana, it's a well-known map, very pretty looking because it's on the beach. You've got a very narrow choke here, and then a even kind of a moderately sized ramp leading down from the natural. Only other cool aspect about it is you got the destructible rocks right here to open up kind of a secondary pathway, but it's so close to the first ramp that its use as a surprising pathway is kind of limited. What it does do is opens up the third right down here, so you usually see whoever spawns down in this corner takes out those destructible rocks just to open up that pathway to the third so that he can reinforce it. It does kind of favor the two-base play, or at least two-base aggression in that regard, just because it's pretty easy to wall off right here at this choke, and then forget about the debris and hole up on two-base. But once the Zerg take down the destructible rocks, it's pretty easy to take out that third. Gateway going down for TallyHo. We can see a spawning pool coming for Xai. So both players favoring to get units out before a super early expansion. You can see TallyHo's down here pondering. Maybe he's going to throw down a pylon. Looks like Xai is taking an extractor in the bottom left, maybe going to steal the early gas, but TallyHo's already got one up, and Xai decides to cancel it. I don't know if that would be effective. Taking a gas from a Protoss is always a good idea. There's always something that they can use that gas for, and by taking it you can usually limit the amount of range units, especially sentries, that they can get out early. And with Ohana having so many huge open areas, those force fields can really come in handy. And then with the multiple ramps and chokes that you have in your base, the force fields can really help just defend that area. TallyHo's probe gets kind of bullied away. It looks like he could have thrown out a pylon there to deny that hatchery, but he decides to keep the probe alive and run away before the Zerglings can deal enough damage to actually take it down. So Xai is going for his expansion as he gets his spawning pool up. TallyHo deciding to go for more of a tech play with his cybernetics core. It's interesting that he didn't choose to wall off. It's so easy to wall off this area. Even placing a pylon and then a gateway could really choke off that place so that only a single zealot could hold it. In that regard, these three buildings could also really narrow down this choke here, making it so it's much harder for Xai to do any sort of Zergling rush. And since he did opt to get that spawning pool out first, and he's got that metabolic boost on the way, TallyHo's going to have to worry about a Zergling run by. With only a handful of units being out to hold that ramp, it's going to be difficult for him to actually wall it off with pure units. And if any of those zealots make it into this delicate probe line, then TallyHo can really be feeling the sting of an economic blow. You can see a sentry coming out. Always a good idea to get that sentry out early to deny any scouting. With its range and its movement speed, it can kill any drone that's deciding to come in, and until this metabolic boost comes out, even Zerglings aren't too much of a bother. You can see the first 6 coming out as map control is definitely on Xai's side of thing. He's starting to get that saturation on the first expo, which is, it's relatively standard. What's not standard is to keep the drones mining. You can see he's got 200 gas saved up, and he's got no tech structures, nothing to spend that gas on the way. All 3 of those drones could be spent on making minerals, but the difference will be minimal. The 6 Zerglings take out the first zealot and then go to work, but that sentry comes out because he had the extra gas. He could throw down the force field. See, warp gate tech is done. We now have a 3-gate, so it looks like it's a 3-gate into a robo. With that extra gas, we'll be able to get out some observers, but the metabolic boost finishes, so these speedlings can come in and really close the distance, not giving TallyHo enough time to throw down another force field to defend that ramp. Single Zergling gets in a scout, sees that the robotics facility is going on, and we can see that level 1 ground upgrades is also finishing for TallyHo. so his units are going to be even more fearsome. That single sentry goes down as 5 Zerglings make it into the probe line, start to deal some damage there. 2 Zealots slowly coming around behind it, but 2 sentries get warped in, or excuse me, Stalkers get warped in behind the mineral line and take care of those Zerglings. But more come in, start focusing down the robotics facility, which is so close to being finished. I don't think he's going to have, wow, 34 health for the robotics facility before it before all those Zerglings gets cleaned up. That's really just, that's so close. It might even be worth sending in another 10 Zerglings just to pop out just a little bit more damage. We can see that TallyHo's got 800 minerals saved up. It just doesn't seem to have the unit producing structures. It might be worthwhile to throw down a couple more gateways. On the flip side, Xai has 300 minerals, so he could definitely start thinking about taking that 3rd, or maybe just another swell of units. He just doesn't have any. Yeah, there's the larva injects 8 larvae, so he definitely has enough to create units on. Another swell of Zerglings comes out and some more aggression, and that aggression is going to find out that TallyHo's decided to take his expo now that he's got a larger force of units. I'm surprised to only see a single sentry in here. Sentries are very good in this matchup just because even with that swell of Zerglings, which are going to work on the destructible rocks, 2 or 3 force fields right here can cut that large force into 2 manageable chunks that you can take out. First observer comes out, sees that all the gases are going up now, so it looks like it's going to be that 3 base into max roach play. With that early aggression doing some nice damage from Xai, he can definitely afford to tech into a new tech structure, especially if he continues to just push in with some Zerglings, keep TallyHo honest, keep him contained in his base, maybe even succeed in taking down that expansion. Level 1 armor is going to finish for TallyHo as we see a huge swell of Zerglings coming out of Xai, and it looks like he's going to tech over to Spire. Which is, you know, actually that's a great choice because we can see there's a lot of Zealots. It's a very ground-heavy army. We can see even more getting warped in. But with only 2 gas being mined right now, I guess these are going to be grabbed now, but it's still, there's not as many air attacking units on TallyHo's side of things. A Colossus coming out, which means that he's just going to continue to favor that ground-based play. So Xai's definitely making a good decision here. Those mutas are going to be able to really punish TallyHo for taking that expansion by getting here into this probe line, and then he can just skip down to the other one. And unless we see Blink Stalkers coming out of TallyHo, there's not much he's going to have that can match the mobility of the mutas. With that 3rd base coming up and getting fully saturated, we can see that the 46 to 32 harvester count just ridiculously favors Xai. He's going to have a plethora of minerals, and he's already floating 1k of both, so that he, once that Spire kicks, he can produce just 10 mutas just right there. It's going to be a large swell of units, and it's going to be quite intimidating. He's got the larvae, he's got the money, and he's got level 1 Zerg attack, air attack underway. All these Zerglings could be doing something. They could be scouting out. He's got an observer overlord placed over here on the 3rd, but who's to say that once those destructible rocks go down, you could take a 3rd over in that corner, and it's something that TallyHo doesn't really know right now. But there goes those 10 mutas being produced right now with that single Colossus out. We've got 4 Stalkers and 1 Sentry. That's just not enough to deal with 10 mutas. Even if that army catches it and decides to focus them all down, those mutas could easily take out all these probes, swing up here, maybe do some damage to the robotics facility, but more likely the damage will be well spent down here, taking out these probes. The one thing that TallyHo has over Xai is his ground army. I mean, all those Zealots can form a meat shield for the Colossus, which are now getting their range attack. And they'll absolutely decimate this Zergling force, which is holding down by the watchtower. Mutas decide to come out. It looks like they're swinging on to the right side of the map, come down. There's no static defenses in the way, and all the tech structures are kind of bottled down in that expand. So the mutas come down. At the same time, we can look at the minimap and see that Zerglings are coming in. The main force of TallyHo pulls back the second the Zerglings arrive at the expansion, so this is a really well timed attack. What's not good is for these mutas to be engaging this force they need to pull back, start dealing damage back to the probes, and then once this force shows up, retreat. But it looks like Xai's sticking around, slowly losing 1 or 2 mutas. He still has 5 underway, but it looks like his force, which numbered 10 at the beginning, has been cut in half. As more sentries or stalkers get warped in, Xai has to retreat, but the damage is done. We can see there's 0 saturation here and only a handful of probes on the field. Look at that, 2 harvesters for him, and he's got absolutely no money at all. So TallyHo is definitely in a make-or-break situation. Unfortunately, he's lost all of his Colossus, which would have been the perfect answer to pretty much the only thing that Xai can field right now. He doesn't have a Roach Warren down, so it's going to be pure Zerglings against a lot of Zealots, which is not the best thing in the world. But remember, he's got those mutas on the field. The mutas can shoot down, and not a lot can shoot up, except for these stalkers, which seem to be leading the pack. If these stalkers go down fast enough, if the surround happens and those stalkers go down, then these mutas will be pretty much untouchable to everything. And yeah, that's what happens. These guys get surrounded by the handful of Zerglings still on the field. A lot of them go down. There's more mutas than there are air attacking units right now, and as they focus down these last few air attacking units, these Zealots now basically have to race to take down all the structures. But if Xai decides to focus them down, I doubt that these Zealots are going to be able to do the damage that they need to do. Still have 3,000 minerals floating on Xai's side of things, but I don't think he's got the larva. Yeah, he only has 1 larva to spend, so it's not like he can afford to do it. Maybe a macro hatch could have helped him keep down the excess minerals, but we can see that the Zealots just get whittled down more and more, so this is definitely game in Xai's favor. He won the game by getting that Spire out, rather than trying to commit to the ground-based play. If he had done a lot of roaches instead of the mutas, the battle would have ended entirely differently. The sentries that he had to deal with down by this moderate ramp would have just thrown down a couple of force fields and would have cut his army to pieces if they even bothered to engage at all. And Xai would have had to allow TallyHo to get maxed off of this 2 base. But with the mutas, he really forced the engagement. It was really clever to split it by attacking on the right side and the left side at the exact same time, expecting TallyHo to pull his army that was stationed down in the expo back to the main. That was a great game, Xai. Thanks for posting it, buddy. I am Big and Scary. If you have a comment or you want to tell me something, leave it in the comment section. If you have a game you want me to cast, you can PM me on Reddit or here. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you later. Bye.